Ang tawag niya.
Oh.
It's three branches.
Yan, para. Okay.
Say it again.
Hi guys! Welcome back to our channel.
Today we are going to talk about our fiddle leaf fig tree.
Okay, just a background. Fiddle leaf fig talagang yung may isip mo pag sinabing Instagrammable plant. It's very, sculptural. Malaki yung leaves niya. They usually come in tall sizes.
Isa siya sa mga plants na for me, hindi lang siya maganda in action. Isa rin siya sa pinaka-photogenic na plants. Kaya parang timeless siya. Hindi siya yung nagte-trend lang tapos mag-fade out yung popularity niya. Actually, yung fig is known to be very finicky, very sensitive. Very early on, we ran into some problems sa fig namin. Pero when we got to know the plant, nung nag-gets na namin paano alagaan, for us, it's one of the easiest plants to take care of.
So today we're going to give you a complete guide on how to take care of your fig.
This is especially important for people na first-time owners sila.
So number one is you should have a spot in mind. Kung saan nyo ilalagay yung fig tree.
Prior to buying, it's good to have a spot na. Kasi yung fig, hindi niya gusto yung minumove siya paulit-ulit. Gusto niya na dun sa spot na yun, dun na siya. So, it's good na meron ka ng spot in mind before buying your fiddle leaf fig. And then, take in mind din na it grows tall. So, yung space na ipaprovide mo is ihanda mo na yung sarili mo. Isa rin sa mga things na for me importante is to look for a supplier na trusted or very legit. Kasi reputable source. Kasi you want to buy a fig na very established na yung roots. Uso kasi yung from market, fresh from market, tinutusok sa soil tapos ibebenta na. For me, for other plants, pwede yon, gagana yon. But for fig, mas preferably buy figs na established na yung root system niya.
Well, as much as possible, yung piliin mo yung maraming leaves. And especially yung maraming leaves dito sa ilalim. Kasi most probably kapag dinala mo na siya sa house mo, mas-stress siya and mag-acclimate siya and it's going to lose 1 or 2 leaves.
There's a chance na mawalan ka ng leaves.
Due to traveling.
Due to stress. Kung titignan mo is malalapit yung leaves niya. Kapag puno kasi yung leaves tapos malalapit siya, ibig sabihin it grew in a very good condition. Isang sign din is yung nakatayo yung mga leaves niya pataas. Ibig sabihin, it is being given very bright light. Tumatayo yung leaves niya.
Pick the ones na with minimal damage.
Yes, as close to perfect as possible. Kasi yung fig, pagka ayaw niyo yung leaf na yun, hindi siya yung kagaya sa ibang plants na putulin mo lang tapos it will grow back. Yung sa fig, most probably it won't grow back anymore. Or kung mag-grow man siya, it will take a very long time. So, kung nasa shop ka, piliin mo yung almost close to perfect yung leaves.
Kasi again, most probably
Mas-stress siya.
Pag nilipat mo siya sa inyo, magkakaroon siya ng brown spots.
So, moving on to watering. When it comes to watering kasi, it's very dependent on a lot of variables like lighting, temperature. So, ang i-share namin is yung the way we do it. More on, parang use it as a guide, not as a rule. So, dati nung nagbabasa kami, yung fig, sabi nila, ficuses in general, likes the soil to be moist. Pero we found out that yung fig pala, actually most ficuses, they like to dry out a little bit. Actually yung sa amin, we water when the soil is dry talaga. Especially malaki yung pot namin.
Yeah. Ang ginagawa naming measure is pag humihiwalay na yung soil sa pot niya.
Yes. Yung fig, isa rin siya sa mga plants na that will tell you when it needs to be watered. Nagdudroop yung leaves niya pababa. Although I wouldn't suggest na paabutin nyo to the point na magdudroop yung leaves niya bago nyo diligan. So use it as a guide na lang na kunyari, this time nagdroop yung leaves niya after 8 days. The next time, huwag nyo na paabutin ng 8 days bago nyo diligan. Kasi pag paulit-ulit yung hahayaan na mag-droop yung leaves niya before nyo diligan, mas stress yung plant nyo, it won't be happy. And of course, you want a very happy fig. Maglalabas siya ng mga brown spots pag paulit-ulit mo siya magdo-droop tapos before mo siya i-water. So, the way we water our fig is, I don't know, medyo unique siya. Kasi there are two types of watering method. Yung isa, yung usual, yung dinidiligan from the top. And then there's also a thing called bottom watering. So kami very unique kasi we bottom water and then we also water from the top. Parang hybrid siya. This is to ensure na water namin yung buong root ball. Kasi yung original root ball niya, nung nabili namin siya, it came with a small pot. Sobrang tigas nung soil niya. I don't know if kung naluma na or what, or hindi maganda yung quality ng soil. Matigas na siya sobra, to the point na hindi na namin maalis nung nirepot namin. So iniwan na lang namin siya doon. So in theory, hindi namin mawo-water yung buong root ball since matigas yung soil. So ang naisip namin is to water from the bottom and from the top. So the way you bottom water it is you get a tray, or kung may bathtub kayo, pwede. You fill up the tray with water to the point na mas mataas siya na konti dun sa level ng hole, ng pot. Tapos it will absorb the water on its own. So maiwasan mo rin dito actually yung ma-overwater kasi it will only absorb water na kaya niyang i-handle. So for me, isa sa pinaka-important yung watering kasi nung natama namin yung watering ng fig, dun siya talaga naging masaya, dun siya nag-thrive, naging happy.
So, we place our fig here, dito sa may balcony. Sa labas siya, facing the north. So, compared to optimal locations, east, south, and west, hindi siya nakaka-receive ng direct sun. Although bright siya, nung una, it did not show any signs of growth.
Although it wasn't dying.
Oo, buhay naman siya. But yun nga, ang bagal niya tumubo. I think we waited 4 months.
So that tells us na hindi optimal yung north-facing na location niya. Yung mga figs kasi, they like bright, indirect, and actually minsan direct. May tolerance na sila sa direct light. Huwag niyo i-underestimate how bright yung gusto ng fig. Kasi kami, to the point na bumili kami ng grow light just to give it more light. Nung nag-grow light kami, dun talaga siya nag-thrive. Ang ideal location for figs is east. East talaga yung kasi it gets morning sun. But if you don't have east, pwede rin siya sa south and west. Basta important kasi talaga is very, very bright yung location niya.
Yes. Although if you place it sa south or west, make sure na nakokontrol mo yung level ng direct sun para hindi masunog yung place.
Either with shear or whatever, basta hindi mag-direct. Filtered siya. So, kung may bala kayong i-direct sun siya, pwede naman kasi yung figs, actually puno talaga siya, di ba? Fiddle fig tree nga. So, I suggest na from the garden, kung may bala kayong i-direct light siya, unti-untiin nyo. Usually kasi from the garden centers, very ideal yung conditions nila. May shade net, or nasa lilim sila ng puno. So, when yung pag-uwi nyo sa bahay, unti-untiin nyo lang muna siya sa direct sun hanggang sa tumaas yung tolerance niya, hanggang sa kaya na niya mag-full sun. Most houseplants naman, indoor houseplants, they like well-draining soil. So, yung ratio mo ng paano mo siya gagawing well-draining soil. Generally, 50% cactus mix and 50% regular potting mix is okay. Well-draining na yon. Pero kami, DIY namin. Yung ginamit namin for our soil mix is soilless. So, ang components niya is vermicast, pumice, carbonized rice hull, coco peat, and that's it. When it comes to humidity, most tropical plants like around 50 to 80% humidity. Actually, 60 to 80% humidity. In the Philippines, nasa tropical country naman kasi tayo. So, hindi natin siya ganun kalaking problem unlike in other countries. We regularly receive around 60 to 70% humidity. Pero when you want to optimize it, we suggest you get a humidifier or pebble tray to increase yung humidity dun sa plant nyo. Although, when you increase your humidity, especially around the 80 to 90% na regularly, Watch out lang for possible na magka-fungi yung plants niyo. So, regular spraying na lang ng fungicide.
And air circulation.
Yes.
Make sure there's proper air circulation. Na-notice ko yung pest na madalas namin na-encounter with the fig is spider mites. Bigla mo na lang siya makikita. May mga webbing na nangyayari dun sa gitna, especially sa stem. Yun na yung sign na ibig sabihin may spider mites na.
Also, we had problems with scale a little bit nung simula. So, most pest problems naman can be solved by continuously spraying with neem oil for maintenance. Hindi kami gumagamit ng mga chemical pesticides but we spray with neem oil weekly. Other problems na na-encounter namin for our fiddle leaf fig. Nung start, na root bound yung namin, coming from the garden center. Hindi namin alam, super root bound na pala yung nabili namin fig.
So, the seller said kasi pag after transport, huwag muna siyang gagalawin for 3 weeks. So, hindi namin siya ginalaw for 3 weeks. But, syempre, winother namin siya according to schedule. Okay naman siya. And then, exactly nung 3rd week, kasi nag-droop yung leaves eh. So, I thought na I should water it. After ko nag-water, nag-yellow yung isang leaf. So, ang inassume na lang muna namin is na-stress siya from the travel. But then the next day, nagkaroon na naman ng yellow leaf. And then, after that,
Meron ulit.
Meron ulit. So, all in all, parang 3 leaves yung nawala sa amin.
Akala namin nung una, root rot yung nangyari.
Yeah. So, tinanggal agad namin siya from the pot to check on the roots.
Yun pala, super root bound na nung nung root ball niya. So immediately, niloosen up namin yung soil, tapos tinransfer namin siya sa mas malaking pot. So, ayan, after nun, nag-recover naman siya. I think nagkaroon ng time na nag-stabilize muna siya. Tapos tsaka siya talaga ng growth niya. So, yun din, additional tip. When you're buying your fiddle leaf figs, if you ask us, huwag niyo muna siya i-repot. Siguro wait 2 to 3 weeks before you repot. Kasi yung fig, isa siya sa mga plants that like to acclimate. Gusto rin niya nung may routine. Pagdating kasi from garden centers, ipa-acclimate niyo muna siya sa bahay niyo. Kasi mas-stress siya for sure kasi nagbago yung growing environment niya from very ideal tapos into your home. So you don't want to give it additional stress by repotting it. So, maghintay muna ng mga 2 to 3 weeks. So additional tip, yung fiddle leaf fig trees, they like growing conditions na windy. It promotes a stronger trunk and stronger root system. So kami nilagay namin siya sa location na nahanginan siya. So when you don't have that environment, pwede mo naman siyang i-mimic via swaying na manually yan, ganyan. I-sway nyo siya ng konti every now and then. Mapopromote nyo yung stronger trunk. Also, it is a good idea to regularly wipe the leaves of your fiddle leaf figs. Malalaki kasi yung leaves niya. So it accumulates dust very easily. Especially if nasa labas siya, naulanan, tapos mahahanginan, mag-accumulate siya ng dusts.
So, pag nababagalan kayo sa growth ng fig, mayroong mga buds dyan sticking out of the stem or sa pinaka-top. I-ano siya, kurutin.
Pinching.
It's called pinching. Para lang magising yung yung pinaka-node.
If you want to encourage branching or growth, dalawa yung ways. No? So, na-discuss na niya yung pinching. And then there's also notching. Although we haven't tried it ourselves. Pero, notching is when yung susugatan mo yung trunk ng fiddle leaf mo. And then, eventually it will grow a new branch. Also, one way na mag-promote ng branch is i-cut mo yung stem sa top. Kunyari single stem lang yung fig. Cut mo siya. Tapos dun sa pinagkatan mo, mag-grow siya ng branches. Although, you have to remember na pag kinat nyo siya, from that point, hindi natatangkad yung stem na yon. Mag-grow na siya from the branches. Yung ito hindi na siya tatangkad. So, ang tip ko is you only cut pagka dun comfortable ka na dun sa height ng fig mo. You don't want to cut na mababa pa siya tapos magmumulti-branch na siya. Dapat maganda, medyo mataas-taas na siya ng konti, tsaka mo i-cut para mag-branch siya from that point on. You can try cuttings tapos i-propagate siya sa water. Pwede rin yung cuttings itatanim siya sa soil. And then, lastly, you can also try marcoting. So, yun yung babalatan mo yung stem niya. And then, babalutan mo siya ng moss. Tapos, iti-tape mo siya. We haven't tried propagating our own fiddle leaf leaves. From what I've read, pinaka-successful is when you marcot. Most of the time namamatay pagka-cutting, tapos pinapropagate sa water or sa soil. So, kung meron kayong figs, ayaw nyo siyang masayang. Much better to marcot it na lang.
So there! Those are the tips to make your fiddle leaf happy. I hope you learned a lot.
If you think we missed anything, you can tell us through the comment section. Also, if you like the video, and also our previous videos, please press the like and subscribe button. See you next time.
Bye!